What's up, everybody? We're back. Big Jack and Glenn back with a Week 5 NFL Best Bets of the Weekend video. Last week, we brought it to you from our remote location in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and we brought some winners. Started out strong in the early slate, started out 3-0 in the early slate, ended up 4-2 overall for our show. Each guy going 2-1 to add positive weeks to add to our records. Moving me to a 7-5 record on the season. Jack improving to a 4-7-1 record. Jack, great week last week for the two of us. How you feeling?
Feel good. I guess we got to do more of them from Cabo San Lucas, man. You might have to make that a permanent residence.
I'm gonna have to up my units if that's the case.
Yeah, it's not going to be a problem at the clip you're going. But yeah, it felt good to finally get on, have a winning week. Still not in a great spot overall, obviously with that record, but long road ahead. Feeling decent about some of the progress making behind the scenes, and hopefully we keep moving it in the right direction going forward. Great start for you though, 7-5. That's
Yeah, and three weeks so far are 2-1, which you love to see. Um, love to see a 6-0 week out of the gang, and that's what we're gonna try to do this week. With that being said, let's jump right into the picks. My first pick is going against one of the surprises, in my opinion, of the early season. Damn near has played himself into MVP consideration if you're going through 4 weeks. I'm going against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, and I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns plus 3.5 in Washington. Just seems to me like a lot of hype on this Jalen Daniels train right now, and probably rightfully so. But I look at who the Commanders have played up to this point, and no real tough teams. I know the Cleveland Browns aren't having a great start to their season, but I think they're in a spot where they need a win. That staff, that team, they're not in a rebuild mode. They're trying to win now, and with that 1-3 record, they got to find a way to get a win here in Week 5. I like the hungry dog running faster, and I like the Cleveland Browns and the dog pound going up to Washington, winning outright as 3.5 point dogs against the Commanders.
interesting. Yeah, I was against the Commanders last week. Obviously, got burned. They boat raced Arizona. Never really. I guess Arizona scored the opening touchdown, and then after that, it wasn't really even close. Um, I don't know. I was on the Commanders week one, if I remember correctly, against the Bucks, and that was the only game that they
Yeah.
haven't covered. So I don't know. It's interesting. Cleveland's played a lot of low scoring games. And the one thing about the Commanders is it seems like that defense isn't that great. So maybe if, like you said, Cleveland's definitely the more desperate team, the hungrier team. Maybe their defense shows up in that sort of spot in a must-win game for them. Stefanski, coming off that Coach of the Year campaign, you got to think he's got it in him to right the ship a little bit. I'm not on the game personally. I just don't. It's more of a lack in belief, and I don't. Deshaun Watson is just a absolute shell of himself. I almost feel like it's potentially a situation where they may have already moved on to potentially giving Jameis Winston a look if the contract situation for Deshaun Watson wasn't as heavy as it is. So we'll see going forward with that team. But I got nothing against that pick. I think Cleveland could certainly, keep it within a field goal. Did you get it at 3.5?
Well, it's interesting. It's plus what I see right now is +3 is plus 100, or +3.5 is -120. I'm going the +3.5. I know it's a little controversial, but I see +3.5 -120. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, no worries. Take the hook, baby. All right, my first play. So this week, we've been doing these picks a little earlier in the week than we have in the past. So I'm actually going to take the Thursday night game. Hopefully, this gets released before the
It will.
weekend,
It will.
but we'll see. One way or another, I won't be able to flip it. But I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons -1.5. Um, they haven't clicked offensively the way some people thought that they might going into the season. I think Kirk Cousins is definitely still dealing with a little bit of rust, but they're coming off a huge home win on that last second field goal against the Saints. I'm thinking and hoping that they sort of ride that momentum. The Bucks have looked good for the most part this year. Some maybe even say great at times. That offense has been humming, but I still think they leave a lot to be desired on the defensive side of the ball with some of the injuries and people that they've lost along the way in recent years. I don't know. I just see it as a spot where short week, Falcons are at home, big divisional game. They know that the Bucks are out in front. And they know it's one they got to take care of business. I like them to get it done at home against a seemingly sexy Bucks team. I'll take the Falcons -1.5.
I like where your where your head is at on this game. You look at the spread, and I think a lot of people are going to see the Bucks getting a point and a half, and might just jump on that. I like Atlanta at home. That team's tough, tougher than I thought they were going to be going into the season. I like them in that spot. I like them to beat that Buccaneers team. My second pick of the week, I'm going to go to a team I bet on a couple times this year, and I think they've provided maybe every time. I'm going to go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm going to take them -2.5 at home versus the Dallas Cowboys. I just don't know if Dallas has got it this year. Their defense looks down. I think it's going to be a relatively low scoring game, maybe. And I think just Tomlin and what he's going to ask Fields to do, I think they'll be able to do enough. I also think they should be able to run the football against that Dallas front. And then lastly, I think Parsons and Lawrence are going to be out. Lawrence for sure, he's on IR, but I think Parsons is going to be out this game too. I just like the Steelers in the spot. I think they're a better ball club. And I like Steelers at home against the Cowboys. That's going to be my second pick of the week.
I sort of like that play as well. I think it's a goofy line that caught my attention, so I did dig into that game a little bit. And we talk about it not so much on here, but off in random conversations. I'm not the biggest trends guy in general. It's interesting, and they obviously there's a reason that they're out there and they exist, and people do pay attention to follow them. I just think it's if they were that big of a deal, it'd be too easy, I think, in a sense. But the one thing I did see is that Dak Prescott in primetime games, and he's obviously spent his whole career in Dallas, where, believe what you want to believe, but that's a Dallas team that tends to maybe get the whistle on occasion, given their national narrative and how big of a draw they are. But he's won over 70% of his games as a starter in prime time. That's the only little bit of a trend or note that scares me off of it, because I definitely think it's a gotcha line. Cowboys catching points, Sunday night football. I don't know exactly where the public money is or is going to land, but I would certainly think that's is begging you to take the Cowboys and the points. So I like going the other way on it. My next play, I'm going to go to a team that looked horrible last weekend in a national spot. I think people are going to be buying, excuse me, selling high on them after those first 2 weeks. And I think the Buffalo Bills are going to take care of business on the road against the Houston Texans. Obviously, they just got killed. Josh Allen looks like he got a little banged up, but I'm sure he's fine. He's a big boy. He's got that farm strength given his background. I think he'll be totally fine come Sunday, ready to play. I think they take care of business against a Houston team that, yes, they're 3-1, but they've gotten some ugly wins. They barely escaped at Indy. The Bears, we know what that game looked like. The offense just couldn't get a damn thing done. Otherwise, that could have been a different story. They go to Minnesota. They do lose, sort of get pushed around in that game. And then they come home and they barely sneak out a win against Jacksonville. I said before the start of the year, I think that there was a little bit of regression in store for Houston. They're finding ways to win games, and that's all. That's what it takes in the NFL. That's the most important thing. Your 3-1 is 3-1, but I do still think that regression may be coming, and I think you can see some of that in the results posted thus far. I like Buffalo to go on the road in a tight spot. I'm going to take Buffalo Bills on the money line.
Okay, I like it. I'm staying away from that game. I think. Obviously, I tell your picks, but like if I were just speaking from my own point of view, I'm probably staying away from that game. I have no idea what to expect out of Buffalo that game. They just got shell shocked by the Ravens. I was on the Bills last week. They got their ass kicked. So I'll be interested to see how they respond. That's about all I'll add to that pick. Is I'm just interested to see how the Bills bounce back after last week's game. My final pick of the week. I'm going to go to one of the worst teams in the league, going on the road across country, um, to take on a 3-1 team that I think, while they're solid, I think their 3-1's a little inflated based on their early season opponents. I'm gonna take the New York Giants going across the country, going to the Seattle Seahawks, and keeping that game within 6.5 points. I think that's a lot of points. I think that's a big number. I think the Lions show that the Seattle defense, um, granted, it was at home in a dome. Jared Goff, great at home, great in the dome. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think that Seattle defense got exposed a little bit. I think the Giants have enough on both sides of the ball, score a few points, keep the thing tight. I guess the one thing I didn't check, which probably should given the state of the Giants' offense, is Neighbors out or is he going to be playing that game?
I don't know for sure. That's not a game that I drew a ton of interest in as
Okay.
far as diving into the
I
injury report.
looked. I looked at the injury report. I saw Wandale Robinson's questionable, and I saw Brian Burns is questionable. Right now, I'm having a flashback to Neighbors exiting last game a little banged up. I hope he's ready to go because that dude's a weapon. Either way, I'm on the Giants. I think they do enough to keep this game close. They're in a spot where they got to have it too. New York Giants plus 6.5 at the Seattle Seahawks. That's my third pick of the week.
Yeah, I know Neighbors definitely left the last game right at the end. He had that concussion. He was a little shook up on the sideline, but Thursday night game. So he'll be coming off 11 days or
Yeah.
whatever. But that mini bye gives him a little bit more time to get out of the protocol. If you didn't see him on the report, I'm sure he's good to go. I would imagine. But yeah, he's certainly a difference maker for them. I heard something the other day going into that Cowboys game about how he is already getting like 43% of the target share for them. Just crazy numbers the way that they're trying to feed him the ball, and rightfully so. It seems like he's just the man out of the
He's a
gate.
fucking stud.
Yeah, and then I always like going against teams on the short week. Monday night, like I said, Giants coming off the mini bye, they get little x 4 extra days, and Seahawks just played a tough game on Monday night at Detroit, so they're coming off a short week. I think that's a nice little angle to that game as well. My last pick, I'm going ugly. This is the first week of the year where we have a bye, a couple buys rather, so that board tightens up just a little bit. And this has got to be the ugliest one on there. I'm going to play the Dolphins Patriots game. I'm going
Ooh.
to take the Dolphins on the money line, similarly to that Texans Bills game. Just another tight one. It's a pick 'em. I guess Miami's technically +1, but they're -108 on the money line where I see it. And that's what I'm going to play. I think that Dolphins are a team that certainly had some expectations coming into the season, given what they were trying to build upon from last year. Sort of derailed with the Tua Tagovailoa situation. Sounds like there's starting to be some rumblings that they do expect him back. It doesn't seem to be any concrete reporting that he has any sort of interest or is entertaining the idea of retirement. I think he will be back. I think that this team still has something to play for. And The Patriots have been competitive at times. Certainly, credit to them considering their situation. But going into the season, I said I'd be shocked if they won more than 3 games. They got that sort of crazy win week 1 against the Bengals, and have been, like I said, competitive at times. But now they've gotten blown out by the Jets. They've gotten blown out by the 49ers. They're coming back home, division game. I think Mike McDaniel is going to have to really do something special. A lot of people gave him a lot of credit as a coach in this league early on, and now he's hit with some adversity. I'm not the biggest Mike McDaniel guy, but I do have some confidence he'll find a way to scheme up a game plan to get it done this week in Foxborough. Give me the Dolphins on the money line.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like Mike McDaniel and the trouble he's had once he was gone out, and then you look at LaFleur and what he did with Willis while Jordan Love was down, and just hard not to feel a lot better about a coach like LaFleur when something like that's going on. But I like the pick. Patriots are bad, so if the Dolphins are going to win without Tua, they got to find a way this week, All right, quick recap. Well, quick side note before I recap. It's not looking so good for Malik Neighbors. So that's tough for my pick of the New York Giants. Not looking so great. He is in the early stages of concussion protocol. Did not practice today. That's not that boding well for an appearance on Sunday, but we'll see. All right. My 3 picks are the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the New York Giants. Jack's 3 picks are the Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Moneyline, Miami Moneyline. All the other bets were against the spread. I love them. I got them all written down. Parlay will be placed. Bets will be placed. And we'll be back next week with another edition of the best bets of the NFL weekend. Jack, any final thoughts for our fans as we let them out of here and get ready for our Bears video?
No, man, through 5 weeks now, it's kind of crazy. We have not been on the same game at all yet, and we have not been against each other. So, little yin and yang going on right now. We got all over the place, covering a lot of games on the board, and hopefully we can start bringing in some winners more consistently.
Yeah, it'd be great to get some positive momentum going. We are on the brink of 500 as a show. It'd be great to get both of us in the green here soon. So, all right, everybody who's tuning in for the first time, like and subscribe. Jack, hit it for him one time.
Bears.
Bears.